Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Season 7, Episode 3 of the Retro Wrestling Review Series. And now I am going to be covering WWE Payback 2015. This is a very interesting show because I remember when I watched the show at the time, I actually enjoyed the show pretty well. I thought it was actually a pretty good, solid show. I don't know if I'm going to think the same thing watching it back 2 years later, but we're going to have to wait and see. So let me just go through the card a little bit, then I'll do the same format I've been doing reviewing these shows. I'll review the entire pre-show all in one take, and after each match or segment, I will come on here and talk about it. So let's talk about these shows. We have a couple of pre-show matches. We have 3 singles matches. We have a WWE Tag Team Championship match. We have a United States Championship match. We have a tag team match, just a regular tag team match. It's actually a women's match. And we also have the main event. It's going to be a WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. And as during the pre-show, I'll explain more in detail what these matches are. But if you look at this card on paper, it actually looks like a pretty decent card on paper. It actually looks pretty good. But was it a good show? We'll find out after I review it. Okay, so starting off with the kickoff, we had Renee Young, Booker T, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton on the panel. Let me say where these people are nowadays. Renee Young is now hosting the panel for every WWE pay-per-view. She also does backstage interviews, and now she hosts Talking Smack with Daniel Bryan. Booker T is in pretty much the same spot. Corey Graves and Byron Saxton now do commentary for Raw with Michael Cole. And then we had, for commentary on both this show and the actual show itself, well, on the pre-show and the actual show itself, we had JBL, Michael Cole, and Jerry the King Lawler. And JBL now does commentary on SmackDown. Michael Cole is in pretty much the exact same spot as he was 2 years ago. And Jerry the King Lawler is pretty much kind of retired. He's brought back every once in a while to be put on commentary for Raw. And before I talk about the stuff that happened on the kickoff, let me talk about the build-up that happened, because some matches they didn't really cover for build-up wise. So for the actually, I didn't even go through the card. Let me go through the card in the show. So I'll get to the pre-show matches later on in the show. We're going to have a match between Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler. We're going to have a 2 out of 3 falls match for the WWE Tag Team Championships. WWE Tag Team Champions The New Day versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. We're going to have a match between Bray Wyatt and Ryback. We're going to have an I Quit match for the United States Championship. United States Champion John Cena versus Rusev. We're going to have a tag team match between Naomi and Tamina Snuka versus the Bella Twins. We're going to have a match between Neville and Ken Barrett. And we're going to have a Fatal 4-Way match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose versus Randy Orton. Now that I've gone through the matches, let's get to the purpose and stuff behind these matches. Now, some matches I didn't mention on this show, so I'll mention it now. The reason why Neville and Ken Barrett are having a match is because Neville had just come up from the main roster the night after WrestleMania 31, and he had been on fire. He ended up knocking off Barrett in a match at the Extreme Rules kickoff show. And then in the King of the Ring tournament, Barrett was able to defeat Neville to win the King of the Ring tournament in the finals. So this led to this rematch here. I guess that made sense, but like I said, really wasn't a lot of reason behind this match. So yeah. But it was a huge spot for Neville to be in because of the fact that, Neville was just coming up from the main roster. He was having amazing matches with guys like Seth Rollins, Dolph Ziggler, Sheamus, and John Cena for the U.S. title. And Ken Barrett was having like an okay year. He was just Intercontinental Champion, but he also ended up winning the King of the Ring tournament, so he was coming off a huge victory there. But really nothing special for Ken Barrett going on. Then we have the build-up for the WWE Tag Team title match. The New Day had formed a faction. The New Day had consisted of Kofi Kingston, Big E, and Xavier Woods, and they had formed a faction, but at WrestleMania 31, they ended up getting booed during the WrestleMania match. Everybody was chanting New Day sucks because the gimmick did suck. So the New Day, they decided to flip the New Day heel since they were getting such a heel reaction, and they turned Cesaro and Tyson Kidd babyfaces, which was awesome. And then at Extreme Rules, the New Day were able to defeat Tyson Kidd and Cesaro and win the WWE Tag Team Championships, which pissed off them off. So they tried to win them back in a rematch on the April 30th episode of SmackDown, but they won by disqualification. And since titles can't change hands off a count out or disqualifications, New Day kept the titles. So then it was announced on the May 11th episode of Raw that the New Day were going to defend their tag titles on this show in a 2 out of 3 falls match. So I guess that was interesting. At the time, I remember at the time I still wasn't a fan of the New Day. And the gimmick still wasn't clicking with me at the time. I definitely enjoyed them a little bit more about the fact that they were heels, because when they were baby faces they were boring. But I definitely started to enjoy a lot more Tyson Kidd and Cesaro as a tag team. I thought they were great. So, nothing really much else to say there. And that's really all the matches that weren't covered. Let me just make sure. So those matches really didn't have a lot of purpose behind them. So I'm just going to kind of go right into the kickoff. We had the build-up for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match, and the reason, which is the Fatal 4-Way match, and the reason why this match was happening was because obviously, it's been a year later. The Shield had now been broken up, which, because Seth Rollins ended up turning on his Shield brother, wins Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose the night afterwards. He had gone on to win the Money in the Bank ladder match. And Roman Reigns had just won the Royal Rumble match. And he was on the verge of beating Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. However, Seth Rollins cashed in before the match ended. But during this time, so Seth Rollins walked out of WrestleMania 31 with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Was an amazing moment, and they were really pushing Seth Rollins at the time. And Randy Orton was also feuding with Seth Rollins. He had defeated Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and he wanted a WWE World Heavyweight Championship match, so he got it at Extreme Rules in a steel cage match. And Seth Rollins was able to knock off Randy Orton at Extreme Rules and retain the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. But however, during this time also, Seth Rollins was also having some issues with Corporate Kane. Corporate Kane was the director of operations, and Corporate Kane and Seth Rollins weren't really seeing eye to eye. Seth Rollins was kind of being a douche to Kane because he was rubbing in the fact that he won the title and Kane didn't really end up doing anything at WrestleMania. He was just randomly thrown into the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and it was barely a factor in there. So this pissed Kane off. So Kane kept trying to screw over Seth Rollins. He did an app vote where people could vote whether or not to see who Seth Rollins wanted, who Seth Rollins was going to face at Payback, whether it was going to be Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, or both of them in a triple threat match, and everybody had picked all of them. But then he had also put Seth Rollins in a match with Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins thought that match was pointless on an episode of Raw. However, Corporate Kane took offense to that, and he said that we're going to make this match mean something, and if Dean Ambrose was able to knock off Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose would get added to the match, and it would become a Fatal 4-Way match. And Dean Ambrose obviously knocked off Seth Rollins, so it made the match a Fatal 4-Way match. And Seth Rollins even went to Triple H to complain about this. He was complaining about the fact that Kane doesn't really feel like he's bought into him. He feels like he's trying to take the title away from him. So Kane and Seth Rollins weren't seeing eye to eye. So Triple H said that Seth Rollins is the future. We got to put all of everything we believe in him. So he says that if Seth Rollins didn't walk out of Payback with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Kane would be fired as the Director of Operations. So that's definitely interesting there. So then, but that's not the only reason what made this match good, was this current storyline. But everybody in this match had at least some type of issue with each other. Randy Orton and Roman Reigns had issues with each other going back to the Shield Evolution matches, when Roman Reigns had the match with Randy Orton at SummerSlam 2014. And Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose also, they were teasing like whether or not one of them could turn on each other, because they were still friends coming out of the Shield. They still had a mutual friendship, and obviously all three members of the Shield had history, because Seth from being in the Shield together, and the whole Seth Rollins Dean Ambrose feud of the year in 2014, all the matches they had together, and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns' feud after they were broken the Shield. Seth Rollins taking away Roman Reigns' WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania by cashing in his Money in the Bank contract. And also, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns had a history with each other. Messed up. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton also had a history with each other because, obviously going back, like I said before, to the Shield Evolution days, and then they ended up being in the Authority together. Then Seth Rollins ended up taking Randy Orton out, kicking him out of the Authority and curb stomping him under the steel steps. And Randy Orton had returned at Fastlane. He wanted to get at Seth Rollins. He beat the crap out of Rollins, defeated him at WrestleMania, and Rollins, like I had mentioned, beat him in a cage match. And also Randy Orton and Dean Ambrose had a little bit of history with each other from the Shield Evolution feud. And it's really ironic that all these members main evented the show a year prior with the whole Shield Evolution match, and now they're all in a Fatal 4-Way match. I think that's pretty cool. Another thing that made this exciting was this was the first time that all three members of the Shield were going to all be facing each other since the Shield had broken up. That was really cool. So yeah, it would have been better if this would be the first time they're all going to be in the same ring together. And obviously we had possibilities. People were thinking that the Shield were just going to reform, but we weren't really too sure about that. So definitely interested there. So I was actually pretty interested in this match at the time, and this match had a lot of story behind it. And then we have the build up between Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus. The reason why this match was happening was because going into WrestleMania, there was a series of vignettes being built up for the return of Sheamus, because we hadn't seen him in a while, and then he returned the night after WrestleMania, and completely took out Dolph Ziggler and turned heel and beat the crap out of him. He was rocking a new look. This is when he had started coming out with the mohawk and the beard and the stuff around his beard. So he would pretty much kick in Dolph Ziggler's head every week, and he said that he did this because he wanted to take out all the WWE superstars' heroes. He pretty much wanted to take out all the indie darlings, which was a pretty interesting story. So it led to a match at Extreme Rules. It was a Kiss My Oath match where the loser had to kiss the winner's oath, and Sheamus had lost that match. However, he had refusing to, so Sheamus ended up taking out Dolph Ziggler and made him kiss his oath. Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler both cost each other to win the King of the Ring tournament. And then we're just getting involved in brawls, and this led to this blow-off match here. So I was actually pretty interested in the storyline at the time. I really had liked the new Sheamus because I thought he was a good heel Sheamus. And it leads to this next segment. It's a Dolph Ziggler interview. And Dolph Ziggler talks about, how this thing between him and Sheamus is far beyond personal. And he says that you know exactly what kind of Dolph Ziggler you're going to get tonight. You're going to get the kind that goes out there to steal the show every night. But what kind of Sheamus you're going to get tonight? You're going to get the kind of Sheamus that attacks him from behind, or the kind of Sheamus that's going to run away from him. And he says that tonight he's going to put an end to this thing with Sheamus. So I thought he cut a great promo there. And then we have the build-up to the women's tag team match. The reason this match was happening was because Naomi had won a battle royal to face Nikki Bella at Extreme Rules for the Divas. No, actually, Naomi had pinned Nikki Bella a handful of times, and she should have gotten a Divas title match, but instead they decided to have a battle royal for it, in which Paige won, but Naomi ended up taking out Paige, and she got injured, and she turned heel, and Naomi claims she should have had the Divas title match, so she got the Divas title match at Extreme Rules, in which Nikki Bella won, and then Naomi and Tamina Snuka both formed an alliance together because they're family, because Tamina Snuka is related to Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and Naomi's is married to one of the Usos, so and somehow the Usos and Superfly Jimmy Snuka are related, so they formed this faction, and they continuously attacked the Bella Twins every week, and it led to this match. They were also trying to play into the fact that the Bellas were going to turn face, because they just had that segment where Daniel Bryan ended up having to leave due to injury again, and having to vacate the Intercontinental Championship, which was still a sad moment. So the Bella Twins get interviewed, and Brie Bella talks about how upset she is, and she thanks the fans for the support. And the Bella Twins say that this is not going to be a distraction, because Naomi and Tamina haven't been family as long as me and Nikki have. So that was about it. It was whatever. This feud really wasn't anything special. Then we had the first actual match on the pre-show. It was R-Truth versus Stardust. They decided to turn Cody Rhodes into Stardust, and they kept him Stardust for a long-ass time. He had just turned heel. I guess he was always a heel, but you get what I'm saying. And this feud was happening was because R-Truth had knocked off Stardust, and in the King of the Ring tournament, so then they had a match the next week in which Stardust won by using rubber spiders. It was weird, and this led to this blow-off match here. This match was alright. R-Truth gains the upper hand in the beginning, and then Stardust hits a suplex into the ribs first into the ropes, and he dominates the matchup for a while. He hits a disaster kick on R-Truth, and then eventually Stardust takes his glove off and starts beating R-Truth with it, and then R-Truth makes a comeback, hits the pay dirt for the win. But yeah, this match really wasn't anything special. Really didn't care much for it, but it was alright. And then we have the build up for the Bray Wyatt Ryback feud. So I can't really explain why they were feuding, because I really don't know. But Bray Wyatt, after WrestleMania 31, had sent out a series of vignettes claiming he was targeting somebody. Well, we found out later on that person was Ryback. Don't know why it was Ryback, but whatever. So he had attacked Ryback, and Bray Wyatt claimed that Ryback was claiming that he wasn't afraid of anything, and he claimed that it was impossible because normal humans are supposed to be afraid of stuff. I know, it's weird. So Ryback says that he's not a... Ryback claimed, I guess, he wasn't afraid of him. So it ended with Ryback standing tall on the go-home show of Raw. Bray Wyatt took out Ryback and cost him a match against Seth Rollins on SmackDown. That was the whole reason of the feud, I guess. It really didn't make much sense. I don't really get why this feud was happening. I just think they didn't really have anything for Ryback to do at the time. They didn't have anything for Bray Wyatt, so they just stuck him in a feud together, so whatever. It was weird. So then we had a Q&A segment with Sheamus, and Sheamus was even like, please don't waste my time with this, let's just get this over with. So then Tom Phillips is asking the questions, and he asks Sheamus like a bunch of waste of time questions. Ask him what if he could be in a tag team with anybody, who would he be in a tag team with? And Sheamus says that he doesn't do tag teams. He wants to be a lone wolf, which is kind of weird because now he's in a tag team with Cesaro. You know, Sheamus talks about how, but one of the questions was, dude, why didn't you want to be, what would you be doing if you wanted a WWE superstar? And Sheamus like, I don't want to be thinking about that before I have to go to my match. And one of the questions was, why does your hair look like that? And Sheamus like, this is a new attitude, and people are just focused about the way I look. It's ridiculous. And then he asked, what are you going to do if you don't beat Dolph Ziggler? And Sheamus says that when Dolph Ziggler beat him at Extreme Rules, it was because he played with him too much, but tonight he's going to finish off Dolph Ziggler for good. And then that was it. I thought the Q&A segment was really well done, and I thought Sheamus did a pretty good job as the heel. And then we had the last thing on the kickoff. It was a tag team match. It was the Ascension versus the Mega Powers. And no, it isn't the Mega Powers that you think it is. So let me explain the build-up to this feud. So, I guess it starts where Damien Sandow was no longer considered Damien Mizdow, so, you know, he had gotten over, and he started randomly feuding with Curtis Axel, and, you know, Damien Sandow had gotten over by himself. He was huge, and you could have just easily pushed him right to the top, but instead they decided to make a Macho Mandow, which was a parody of Macho Man Randy Savage, which was weird. And Curtis Axel at the time was doing the whole Axelmania thing, which was a parody of Hulk Hogan. So they had a match with each other. And the Ascension had come out and interrupted the match and says that just because you betray WWE legends doesn't make you a WWE superstar. Even though the weirdest thing is that they were ripping off Demolition and the Legion of Doom. It was weird. So they tried to attack him, and the Mega Powers fought him off. Yeah, it was not a good time. This was pretty much the death of Damien Sandow. Yeah, so we had the match. The Mega Powers came out with you know, the theme songs of Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. Connor, I realized too, Connor's fat. He's really fat. But Connor tries to attack Axelmania. Axelmania hulks up from it, hits all of his hits the right hands into the big boot and the leg drop, but he gets broken up by Victor. And then the Ascension dominate Axelmania for a while, and then Macho Man now gets the hot tag, hits all of Macho Man Randy Savage's moves on him, goes for the elbow drop. Connor ambushes him from behind and knocks Macho Mandow off the top rope, and then the Ascension hit the Fallen Man and Macho Mandow for the win. It was stupid. It was a waste of time, and I didn't even mention the aftermath of this stuff. So let me mention the aftermath for the R-Truth Stardust match. R-Truth is pretty much in the exact same spot he was 2 years ago, just a jobber, does nothing, and Stardust pretty much stayed Stardust, and Cody Rhodes said he wanted to stop doing Stardust, but they wouldn't allow him to do it. He came up with this bunch of ideas, but the creative kept turning it down, so it eventually led to Cody Rhodes the next year in 2016 leaving the WWE, and now he's wrestling all over the world in Global Force Wrestling, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Impact Wrestling. So yeah, what a waste of a talent for Cody Rhodes. And the Ascension are pretty much a job or tag team now. They are pretty much in the exact same spot they were 2 years ago. But they suck, so I could care less. And now, the Mega Powers really aren't much of a thing anymore because of the whole situation that happened with Hulk Hogan, where the racist comment got leaked out. So, they ended up having to scrap that gimmick, so they ended up just going back to being Curtis Axel and Damien Sandow. And Damien Sandow was never seen really much ever again on TV, and then he was released in early 2016. And right now he's taking a hiatus from wrestling. I don't expect him ever to come back to WWE. And Curtis Axel pretty much and job or status, you very rarely see him on TV. So 2 great uses of talent, actually 3 great uses of talent. But let's think about it. Out of everybody on the kickoff, the only people that are on wrestling are R-Truth and the Ascension. Cody Rhodes is in other companies. Damian Sandow is taking a break from wrestling, and well, I guess Curtis Axel's still wrestling. I shouldn't say that, but Curtis Axel's in a non-consequential role. You very rarely see him on TV. That sucks. But overall, the pre-show sucked. Really didn't have. They had a shitty tag match and just an okay match between Stardust and R-Truth. Okay, so we had the actual show itself. We had the same people on commentary, and we had the first match. It was Sheamus versus Dolph Ziggler, and I thought this was a really good opening matchup. I really enjoyed it. Dolph Ziggler, Sheamus at first before the match starts, pie faces Dolph, and Ziggler immediately just attacks Sheamus. He hits a drop kick on him. He clotheslines him out of the ring, which Sheamus landed awkwardly on his knee, and he hits an elbow drop right off the apron onto Sheamus, and he really takes control. And then eventually Sheamus knocks down Dolph with an axe handle, covers him, Dolph kicks out, and Sheamus tosses Ziggler out on the floor, suplexes him in the ring, and he dominates Dolph for a long-ass time. And then eventually Ziggler starts to make his comeback. He hits a jumping DDT on Sheamus, covers him, Sheamus kicks out, attacks him in the corner, hits a splash in the corner, and he sees that Sheamus is prone up, sitting down, and he opens his up his tights and reveals his ass cheek, and he forces Sheamus to kiss his ass after what had happened at Extreme Rules. So you could say right there that Dolph Ziggler got payback on Sheamus for Sheamus making him kiss his ass at Extreme Rules, so I did like that there. And Sheamus starts gagging and coughing, so he starts drinking some water, and then he gets back in the ring. He tosses Ziggler ribs first on the ropes, and he goes for the blow kick. Ziggler ducks it, and Ziggler hits the Fame-Master. Sheamus kicks out. Sheamus hits a suplex on Dolph, and he gets him into the cloverleaf, and Dolph ends up getting to the ropes, and then Dolph hits a headbutt into a super kick, which busted Ziggler open when he hit the headbutt, and he covers Sheamus. Sheamus kicks out, and then Sheamus gets to his feet, and he realizes that Dolph is weak, so he's just gonna prey on him like a shark, playing on his victim in the water, and he blow kicks Dolph for the win. And I like this. It made Sheamus look really dominated as a heel, which was a nice dominant win Sheamus needed, and it made Dolph Ziggler look like a sympathetic babyface. And Dolph Ziggler, I would say, did get payback on Sheamus because he forced Sheamus to kiss his ass in this match. So I like this, and the aftermath for these two, Sheamus would go on at Money in the Bank. They would actually end up meeting again in a vacant Intercontinental Championship Elimination Chamber match, and then Sheamus would go on, and then they would meet again in a Money in the Bank ladder match, where Sheamus would go on to win the Money in the Bank ladder match, and then Sheamus at Survivor Series would cash it in and become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So Sheamus benefited from this match. Dolph Ziggler really just stayed in the same spot and went on to have a lame-ass feud, probably the worst feud of the year, against Rusev, and really did nothing from this match. So Sheamus benefited, Dolph Ziggler did not. Okay, next, Corporate Kane is backstage, and Seth Rollins and J&J Security, which I consisted of Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury. If you remember them, they used to be professional wrestlers, and then they were the Stooges for Seth Rollins and the Authority. Seth Rollins asked Kane if he considers about what he's going to do tonight, and Kane said that Seth Rollins probably wants him to lose his job tonight, so he'll get what he wants. And they both bicker at each other. Seth Rollins talked about how Kane put him in the triple threat matches, put him in these horrendous situations, and how Kane says that since WrestleMania, all he's done is rub it in his face about how he's better than him, he complains about his decision makings, and he's cried to Triple H about everything. and begged him to fire him. And Kane said that he actually will be happy if Seth Rollins loses because everything that he's done has been for Seth Rollins' better interest, but he's just too young and stupid to realize it. So he says that maybe he'll realize that it will make him a better champion if Seth Rollins loses the title tonight. And Kane says that he really doesn't need this job. He loves this job, and he says that if he decides to do anything tonight, Seth Rollins will be the first one to know. And Seth Rollins says that if Kane does anything to jeopardize him walking out as WWE World Heavyweight Champion, losing his job will be the least of Kane's concerns. And J&J Security tried to stand up to corporate Kane, and Kane just laughs in their face because they're like way shorter than him. So I thought that was actually pretty funny. Okay, so next match was a 2 out of 3 falls match for the WWE Tag Team Championships. WWE Tag Team Champions Kofi Kingston and Big E with Xavier Woods ringside versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro with Natalya ringside. And before the match starts, the New Day come out and cut a promo and pretty much talk about how people should always look at the positive of things. Whether you lose weight, stay positive. If you're not going to look attractive ever, stay positive. And they talk crap to, I believe his name was Adam Cole from the baseball team in Baltimore. And they say that even though your team's never going to win a World Series, you can still stay positive, and everybody can stay positive by clapping for the New Day. I actually like the promo. The only thing I didn't like about it was there was a lot of riots at the time going on in Baltimore, and they had the perfect faction there for it, and they could have used that to get the heel heat. Instead, they went with the sports heel heat. I don't mind sports heel heat, but I just think it's cheap heel heat at this point where they put it up all the time. And yeah, that's just what I think. But we had the match itself. The match I actually really enjoyed up until the finish. But I'll talk about that when I get there. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro dominate the first half of the matchup. Cesaro shows off his strength by hitting a tilt-a-whirl slam on Big E. Big E shows off his strength by hitting a body slam on Cesaro. And Cesaro dominates Kofi. He hits a suplex on him. And then, well, actually, no, that's not what happens. He gets him up for a suplex. He holds him there for a long-ass time. He tags in Tyson Kidd, and Tyson Kidd jumps into him. And then Cesaro hits a swing, and then Tyson Kidd hits a drop kick onto Kofi, and they get the first fall. And then Tyson Kidd, and then Xavier Woods wants to go in there and use the Freebird rule, but Natalya pulls him off the apron, and Tyson Kidd hits a tilt-a-whirl dive onto Xavier Woods, and then Tyson Kidd goes to hits an enziguri on Kofi. Big E goes to spear him. Tyson Kidd moves out of the way. He goes to hit a dive on Big E, but Big E catches him into a belly-to-belly suplex. So then Kofi and Big E get the heat for a long-ass time on Tyson Kidd. And what was funny is Xavier Woods, just how loud he used to be. And him constantly screaming, I just think is hilarious. And Big E and Kofi both take turns stomping at Tyson Kidd in the corner, and then eventually Big E just Irish whips Kofi Kingston into the corner, and Kofi hits a drop kick on him. And Big E hits a sick body slam on him. He gets him into an abdominal stretch. And then eventually the Big E and Kofi get the second fall when they hit. Cesaro tries to save Big E. Big E spears Cesaro through the ropes, and Tyson Kidd does the best he can to fight back. Kofi goes off the top rope. Tyson Kidd catches him with a drop kick. He tries to beat Big E with the roll-up, but Big E kicks out. And eventually the numbers game catch up to Tyson Kidd, and the New Day and Kofi and Big E get the second fall with the Midnight Hour, and so they get the second fall, so it's tied 1-1. And Kofi and Big E continue to dominate Tyson Kidd. But Big E hits another belly-to-belly suplex on Tyson Kidd, and then eventually Cesaro gets the hot tag. He starts going off on Kofi and Big E. He hits he hits a ton of uppercuts on him, just back and forth in the corner. He hits a body slam on both of them. He hits a double stomp on Big E, and then another one on a Kofi off of Big E. And Cesaro hits a Tyson Kidd slingshots Kofi, and Cesaro hits a one-handed spine buster on him, and what else happens in this match? There was just so much action that went down. Tyson Kidd gets tagged back in the match, and he goes off the top rope and hits a drop kick, and the match pretty much just spills into chaos. Tyson Kidd hits a slingshot, and Cesaro hits an uppercut on Kofi. They try to go for the pinfall, but Big E breaks it up. Tyson Kidd gets Kofi into the sharpshooter, and Kofi gets to the ropes, and eventually the finish comes when Cesaro knocks Big E out of the ring, and Kofi's on the apron, and Kofi hangs up Cesaro, and Xavier Woods gets in the ring, rolls up Cesaro, and the referee counts, and the New Day retain the WWE Tag Team Championships. So they pretty much went with the. If this is pretty much what happened, they pretty much went with a twin magic finish because these were two black guys. That's pretty much what happened. And because Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods look nothing alike, but that's pretty much what happened. I guess somebody thought backstage, let's come up with a creative finish as a good heel finish. Let's do a twin magic finish. These are two black guys. They obviously must look similar. It was ridiculous. So I did enjoy the match. The finish kind of ruins it for me. But if I had to rate the match, I'd probably rate it 3.5 stars. It would have been like a 4-star match had it not been for that finish. Because that finish just really ruins that match. That finish sucked. And if I want to rate, by the way, the Sheamus and Ziggler match, I'll probably rate it 4 stars. I'll probably rate it 3 stars because I actually thought that was a good match with the white person went over and everything. But let me talk about the aftermath of this match. After this, pretty much the New Day were the hardest act of the company. In 2015, they were really entertaining. They went on to become the longest reigning tag team champions of any kind in WWE history. They were like the hardest act in the company. They did a lot of entertaining things. Xavier Woods eventually would put in the trombone. They eventually started I think they were unicorns. They brought in Bootios, the cereal. The New Day is still around today, and now they're trying to do ice cream. So the New Day is still around. Probably needs to break up. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro would end up disbanding as a tag team because Tyson Kidd ended up getting a neck injury, and he hasn't wrestled since. Looks like most likely Tyson Kidd's gonna have to retire, which is pretty damn sad. And Cesaro's now doing his thing. He would go on to kind of flounder around for a while. He ended up getting injured. He returned, and now he's in a tag team with Sheamus. How ironic is that? Now it's Cesaro's in another tag team with Sheamus. So technically Cesaro really didn't move up or down. He pretty much just stayed in the same spot. But whatever there, right? I would say Cesaro's probably being used better because he's at least in a top tag team. So that's good there. But yeah, but that's about it. That's all I really have to say. Okay, so next, Ryback gets interviewed, and Ryback talks about how he's not going to let Bray Wyatt use him as a scientific lab rat experiment, and he says that Bray Wyatt thinks that I live my life all for naught, that I'm a WWE superstar, and that I'm a phony, and he says that tonight he's going to feed off of Bray Wyatt's negative energy, and he says that tonight the Eater of Worlds gets eaten, feed me more. Wasn't a bad promo, but it's a very Ryback promo, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, so next match was Bray Wyatt versus Ryback. This match was good. I'll get into what I actually think about it though after I'm done talking about the match. They both start chain wrestling each other. Ryback hits a Luthez press and slams Bray Wyatt's back of the head on the mat 3 times, and this causes Bray Wyatt to want to retreat. One question though I just thought of about Bray Wyatt's gimmick is he's supposed to be like this twisted superstar. He's crazy. I would think Bray Wyatt should be someone that loves pain. He laughs at it all the time, and he loves pain, and he eggs for more pain. So I don't get why that's not really part of his gimmick. But the match continues, and Bray Wyatt hits a sick high forearm onto Ryback, and he dominates the matchup for a little while. Ryback then starts to make his comeback. He hits a scoop slam onto Bray Wyatt. He goes and this knocks Wyatt out of the ring, and this allows Wyatt to throw Ryback ribs back first into the steel post. He DDTs him on the apron. He hits a senton off the apron on the floor, which was cool. And he tries to get Ryback counted out, but Ryback's able to get back in the ring in time. And then Bray Wyatt continues to dominate Ryback. He gets him into a headlock for a while. He hits a 6 vertical suplex on him, and he punches Ryback a bunch of times in the corner. Ryback counters that into a powerbomb. Then he hits another scoop slam on Wyatt, and he goes for the Miho clothesline. Wyatt rolls out of the ring, and Ryback goes to go after him. Bray Wyatt hits a sick clothesline, nearly taking Ryback's head off, which was cool. And he blows him in the ring. Wyatt covers him. Ryback kicks out, and then Bray Wyatt tries to do a superplex to Ryback off the top rope, but Ryback counters it. He hits a splash off the top rope. Wyatt kicks out again, and then he goes to get him up for shell shock, but Bray Wyatt, but his ribs are too hurt, so he can't really fully hit the move. And then Bray Wyatt exposes the turnbuckle, and he drives Ryback right into it, and Bray Wyatt hits the Sister Abigail for the win. And it was a good match, and the right person went over. But then I even asked myself at the time, and I ask myself this question now, is what was the point of this match? The point of this match was just to give both guys something to do, because let's take a look where they went afterwards. Ryback went on to win the Intercontinental Championship at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, and then he pretty much was just Intercontinental Champion, lost it at Night of Champions, and then he lost his rematch at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and then he pretty much did nothing afterwards, and then I'll get into what happens to him the next year. Bray Wyatt pretty much went on to do nothing for 2 months, and then he feuded with Roman Reigns for a long-ass time, and then he lost to Roman Reigns at Hell in a Cell, and then he pretty much lost every feud that he's ever been in. And yes, he became WWE Champion at the Elimination Chamber 2017 pay-per-view, but he was really just a transitional champion just so that way he could lose it to Randy Orton at WrestleMania 33, and that's exactly what happened. Bray Wyatt pretty much is just a joke in the WWE. He's pretty much a footnote in the WWE at this point. He loses every feud, he loses every match. And, Bray Wyatt, you can definitely see the difference in Bray Wyatt now than a year ago. Bray Wyatt was literally just doing nothing, and then a year ago he was like one of the hottest acts in the company, and that was ruined by one man, John Felix Anthony Cena, and I'm about to get into him next. Okay, so next match was a I Quit match for the United States Championship. United States Champion John Cena versus Rusev with Lana. And I actually forgot to talk about this match in the pre-show when I was talking about the build-up and purpose for these matches, so I'm going to do that now. So, remember in the last episode when I talked about how a year prior to this, Rusev was this big dominant monster. They were really pushing him as the Moscow Mauler. He loved Russia, and he took out everybody in his path. Well, that was until he got to John Felix Anthony Cena in this feud. So let's talk about this feud. So at the Royal Rumble, John Cena and Rusev had a little bit of a confrontation. And you knew instantly when you saw this that Rusev was going to get buried. So let's talk about what happens. Rusev's loves Russia. He hates Americans. He's pro-Russia, pro-Vladimir Putin. And John Cena's that American hero sticking up for people. And John Cena's still getting booed, and yet they're still cheering for Rusev. Isn't that weird? Let's talk about other things. So Rusev then goes on. He doesn't want to face John Cena at WrestleMania. So John Cena puts him in the STF, and he forces Rusev to say, yeah, he forces Lana to have to say, yeah, we're going to have the match. So then at WrestleMania, John Cena beats Rusev and takes the United States Championship from him. He actually conquers Rusev's streak. He had never lost a match in the WWE, and then he ran into John Cena. Now, it makes sense in a way because of the whole hero going after the USA, but you could have built up another babyface. You had to feed him to John Cena because it's the John Cena monster. Some positives that were coming out of it, though, was John Cena was really making that U.S. title relevant. He was having U.S. Open challenges every week where he would defend the title every week against an opponent. So that was cool. But then it led to a Russian chain match at Extreme Rules where John Cena retained the United States title. So that you would think would be the end of the feud, but no. Then at Extreme Rules, it was announced that Rusev was going to have one final chance to reclaim the U.S. title from Cena in an I Quit match. And you knew that the new Rusev had no chance of winning this match because if it's an I Quit match and John Cena's in it, because John Cena's whole slogan's never give up, John Cena isn't losing this match. So, yeah, there's that. So, the build-up was that Rusev wasn't going to quit because he claims that Americans quit, and John Cena shows mercy and respect to his other opponents. And it shows him, showing respect to competitors that had fought him in his U.S. Open challenges. So, there you go. Another thing they were trying to build at this time was the fact that Lana was getting chanted, getting over in the crowd, and Rusev was trying to shut her up, so that was pretty cool. But then we have this match itself. So Rusev, the match already starts. Rusev gets on the mic and tells John Cena to say the words "I quit," and he says those exact words. And the whole thing is you have to say "I quit" for the match to be over. So right when Rusev said that, the match should have been over because he said "I quit," but I guess not. And Rusev says that if he doesn't, then he's going to destroy him. But Cena refuses. He attacks Rusev, but Rusev gets the upper hand. He hits a bunch of clotheslines on Cena, hits a drop kick on him, and he realizes Lana's getting cheered, so he forces Lana to sit down in a steel chair, and Cena uses this to try to mount some offense, but Rusev's able to cut him off. Cena hits his 5 moves of doom, goes for the AA. Rusev counters into a fall-away slam. And then he attacks Cena some more. He throws him into the steel steps, and he wants Cena to quit. Cena refuses to quit. He wedges the steel. He leans the steel steps on the turnbuckle, and he tells Cena that if he doesn't quit, he's going to throw him onto the steps. Rusev delivers just that, because Cena didn't quit. And then Rusev goes to hit like an Alabama slam on the steps. But Cena counters into the AA on the steps. The referee asks Rusev if he wants to quit, but Rusev doesn't answer. And Cena continues to attack Rusev. He throws him into the steel post. And Cena tells Rusev that if he doesn't quit, he's going to drive him into the barricade where the timekeeper's area is. And Rusev doesn't quit, so Cena drives him through the barricade. He asks Rusev if he wants to quit, but Rusev doesn't answer. So then Cena grabs one of those equipment boxes. He goes to roll it into Rusev, but Rusev kicks him in the head, and the referee asks Cena if he wants to quit. Cena doesn't quit. And then Cena and Rusev brawl through the crowd. Cena goes to hit an AA on Rusev. Rusev counters, hits an Alabama slam right on the table. That looked like complete crap. So then Cena tries to hit it again. Rusev counters it. And then Cena grabs a laptop and a monitor, hit and beats Rusev in the back with it, and Rusev refuses to quit. Cena goes to AA Rusev through a table that's leaned up against like the barricade, and Rusev counters into an Alabama slam. That looks cool. And the referee asks Cena if he wants to quit. Cena refuses to quit, and then then Rusev plays him on with the pyrotechnics, and he goes to do stuff, and he goes to hit super kicks, hit a kick on Cena. Cena ducks it, hits an AA on Rusev, and the pyrotechnics just explodes, which means that some sort of explosion happened, and the referee doesn't ask Rusev if he wants to quit after here. Like, usually the referee was pretty apparent, like he would go right up to him right afterwards, but the referee didn't hear, and this concerned Lana, so she went up to him and was all concerned. Then Cena continuously destroys Rusev. He goes to hit an AA through a metal guardrail that's leaned up against the ring, but Rusev counters into another Alabama slam through the guardrail, and he asks Cena if he wants to quit. Cena says hell no, and then Rusev puts Cena back in the ring, hits a kick to the head, and gets him into the accolade, and Cena passes out. And the referee is asking Cena if he wants to quit, but he's out, so he can't really do anything. So Rusev thinks that he's won because Cena passed out, but the referee's like, no, he has to say that he has to say I quit. So then Rusev gets pissed off about this. He takes apart the top turnbuckle and he exposes it, and he goes to hit Cena with the metal. Cena counters and gets him into the STF with the rope that I thought looked pretty cool. And Rusev doesn't want to quit. You hear him saying something in Bulgaria, but you can't exactly make out what he's saying. So then Lana gets in the ring, and he's like, okay, referee, he quits. And the referee stops the match. Rusev loses. Cena retains the U.S. title. I hated this finish, and here's why. It's because they made this so apparent that the loser had to say I quit. So when Cena passed out, the referee didn't award Rusev the victory, but when Rusev, and technically Rusev didn't say I quit because Lana quit for him. I mean, that's what happened. Lana said that Rusev said I quit, but we're not sure of that. I mean, like I said, technically the match should have been over to begin with because Rusev had said I quit earlier in the fucking match, so that was dumb. And, yeah, this match was just dumb to begin with. I didn't really hate the match. I thought it was really good, but it's a typical watching an I Quit match is just a waste of time because if John Cena is it, because he ain't quitting. If you really wanted to make something interesting, how about you did this in the match? How about you have Rusev grab Lana and threaten to beat the crap out of her? And say, Cena, if you don't quit, I'm going to beat the crap out of Lana. And then Cena quits to protect Lana. That would have actually been believable, and that would have been cool. And it would have, because you were setting up something between Lana and Rusev anyways. The next night, actually, they ended up separated, and she ended up going with fuck stick Dolph Ziggler. I really don't think Dolph Ziggler's fuck stick, but I'm just really mad right now. And then they had like that lame ass feud between Rusev and Dolph Ziggler that was fucking lame, and it was the worst feud of the year. And yeah, and then they ended up just getting back together anyways because it got leaked on TMZ that they were engaged. So yeah. And then Rusev went from that to not even being on the show the very next year at Payback. And in fact, at Extreme Rules the next year, he won the fucking United States title again, and it was in the exact same spot. So he was definitely affected by Cena. He has never been the same since then. And obviously, but one good thing that did come out of this is after this, in the year of 2016, John Cena brought prestige back to the United States Championship. He was defending it every week. He was having really good storylines with it. So that's something I did like coming out of this match. Is that the U.S. title looked good. But then it gets ruined the very next year because the U.S. title gets defended on the fucking kickoff the very next year. And who's in the kickoff the very next year? None other than fucking Ryback. So you could see Ryback really benefited from his match with Bray Wyatt on this show. He was on the fucking kickoff, and the U.S. title was on the kickoff. Great fucking job. So the benefit for Rusev, it was just another one of John Cena's victims that he buried, and John Cena, I mean, he obviously he didn't really benefit nor got hurt from this match. He was still in the exact same spot. That's what I'm saying. Everybody claims that if John Cena loses, it affects Cena. How does it affect Cena? He stays in the exact same spot. He's going to be the face of the company. So why the fuck can't John Cena ever fucking lose a match clean? It's very rare that he loses a match clean. And when he does lose a match clean, he always gets his win back in the end any goddamn way. So it's just stupid. But anyhow, that's really all I have to say there. This match isn't bad, but you know, because of the outcome, because of the aftermath, it just pisses me the fuck off. Okay, so next the panel talk about pretty much everything that happened on the show. The only person that wasn't on the panel was Byron Saxton because he's been doing backstage interviews and stuff, so whatever. Okay, so next, the New Day get interviewed, and they're all happy about retaining the WWE Tag Team titles. They say it's a good victory, and Kofi Kingston's like, who are the 5 greatest tag teams of all time? And they all say New Day, New Day, New Day, New Day, New Day. And then the New Day said that they're happy that the new WWE Tag Team champions, and they say that they're role models outside the ring, and they say they never complain. And Xavier Woods says they always celebrate with a glass of milk because they have like milks and wine glasses, which I thought was pretty funny. So the New Day said that nobody can beat them for the WWE Tag Team titles, and then Byron Saxton says, well, that's why I'm here, because I just spoke with the Authority and it regards Elimination Chamber. And then Xavier Woods is like, Byron, we know what's going on, we have the internet. And Byron says, no, actually the New Day is going to be defending the WWE Tag Team Championships in the first ever Tag Team Elimination Chamber match. And then Big E spits on the floor, and they're all upset about this. They're like, how can we all squeeze in one pod? Nobody can fit. And then Byron says, like, well, I guess this means this is a new day. And the New Day just look at Byron Saxton with disgust, and they just walk away. And I enjoyed this segment. I thought the New Day were really funny here. Okay, so next match was a tag team match. The Bella Twins versus Naomi and Tamina Snuka. This match was a glorified Raw match. Maybe not even that though. Maybe a SmackDown match. That's as far as I'm going. It was probably a SmackDown match. The Bella Twins dominate the beginning, and eventually behind the referee's back, Tamina Snuka super kicks Brie Bella, and Naomi and Tamina get the heat on Brie Bella for a long ass fucking time. Then Nikki Bella gets the hot tag, starts going off on Naomi, and Tamina goes to take over the super kick, but she ducks it. Brie Bella takes out Tamina. Naomi hits the rear view on Nikki, and Nikki kicks out. Nikki hits a spine buster on Naomi. Naomi kicks out, and then she goes to go on the top rope for a moonsault. And then Tamina takes out Brie on the floor, and Naomi throws Nikki off the turnbuckle and wins. This match was stupid. This match was dumb. It was filler. Waste of time. The aftermath of this match was Nikki Bella would go on to defend the Divas title in a triple threat match against Naomi and Paige. Because Paige returned to television, Nikki would retain. Naomi was not seen for a while. She pretty much was in an unconsequential role. And then eventually, she's just now finally won her first women's title, and that being the SmackDown Women's Championship. Nikki Bella went on to become the longest reigning Divas champion in company history. And dropped the title at Night of Champions. Brie Bella pretty much was Nikki Bella's cohort, and eventually when Nikki Bella went out due to injury, it was just left to Brie Bella to fend for herself. She got one last Divas title match at Fastlane and wrestled her final match for the company at WrestleMania 32. Tamina Snuka fucking did nothing. Was just a bodyguard for Tamina. Was just a bodyguard for Naomi, and had an unconsequential match at WrestleMania. Actually wrestled Brie Bella's team at WrestleMania, and yeah, the only one that really benefited from this match was fucking Nikki Bella, and that's because of John Felix Anthony Cena. Okay, so next, Rusev and Lana are backstage. And Rusev is very pissed off at Lana. He's yelling things at her in Bulgaria, and he tells her to get out in English. And yeah, I thought it was kind of funny to see Rusev flipping out. So yeah, but this segment really wasn't much, and obviously this led to the breakup the next night on Raw. Okay, so next match was Ken Barrett versus Neville. This match was an alright match. It's definitely interesting to see where Neville was back then to where he is now. Now he's this big heel in the cruiserweight division, and back then he was this high-flying babyface. And I love him now, and I liked him then. So, but I think he's definitely better now. But I would like to see him come back to this because I miss all the high-flying stuff that he used to do. So, eventually maybe if he ever loses the Cruiserweight title, have him have a little bit more of a run as a heel, take TV time off and come back as a babyface, build up another heel for Neville to take the title off him. I think that'd be pretty cool. But anyhow, the match I thought was good. Neville hits a Hurricanrana in the match. He goes for a moonsault, but Barrett catches his legs and hits a mule kick to the ribs on him. And Barrett dominates the match for a while. He hits a back suplex into a knee to the spine. He hits a big boot while Neville's in the ropes. And then Neville starts to make his comeback. He hits a shooting star press. A standing shooting star press while Barrett's but not off the top rope, just a regular one. And then he hits a flip dive on the outside, and then Barrett goes for the bull hammer. Neville catches his arm while he's on the top rope and rolls him up, but Barrett kicks out. Barrett hits a wasteland and the winter change. Neville kicks out of both of those things, and eventually the finish comes where Neville hits the flip dive again, and Neville hurts his leg. He goes back in the ring, and Barrett just gets himself counted out, which I didn't really care for the finish. I think somebody should have decisively won this matchup, especially with what they did after the match, where afterwards when Neville has his back to him, Barrett attacks Neville from behind, beats the crap out of him, throws him into the steps, throws him into the barricade, and then he stands up, and then he prowls around with his items, with his kin attire on him, but then Neville attacks him with a German suplex and hits the red arrow on him. So if Neville just ended up laying him out with the red arrow, why couldn't Neville just win the fucking match? It didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. The aftermath came where afterwards they would have a match the next night on Raw, in which Kid Barrett would go over, and then eventually Ken Barrett would just lose every match he was ever in, get released, and we haven't seen Ken Barrett since. And Neville pretty much was a jobber until he entered the Cruiserweight division, and now he's a big heel in the Cruiserweight division, which I think is awesome, like I talked about. So, no one really benefited from this match. Neville didn't do jack shit for a fucking year and a half. Okay, so sorry it took me so long to get to this part of the video and actually finish it. I just been really busy, but now I'm gonna finish this video. So then we had the main event. It was a fatal 4-way match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins with J&J Security ringside versus Dean Ambrose versus Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns. And Corporate Kane was out there as well because he's part of a factor in this matchup. And at the time I watched this match, I was pretty disappointed because what I wanted to happen was I wanted to see a Shield reunion. We sort of got one, but we didn't really get it as much as I thought, as I wanted it. I wanted Randy Orton to be out the ring right away, and then all three members of the Shield's music hits, aka also Roman Reigns's, and they all come out and beat the crap out of Orton, and then they help Seth Rollins retain the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. That wouldn't have made any sense at all, I know, but it's just something I wanted. Sometimes my wants don't make sense, so whatever. But I still enjoyed the match. I actually thought this match was really good. My favorite match on the show. So the match starts off. Everybody wants to go after Seth Rollins because he's the big heel in the match. Everybody's baby faces, and Seth Rollins. It actually made sense because Seth Rollins is actually, tried to end these guys' careers, so it made sense. But J&J Security, pull out Reigns and Ambrose, and then this distracts Orton, and Rollins hits a high knee on the outside, and he hits a dive on Orton, and then Dean Ambrose hits a suicide dive onto Orton and Rollins, and then Roman Reigns hits a big dive on everybody except Corporate Kane, who's just watching. And Roman Reigns then starts attacking Seth Rollins, and he goes after him for a while, then he tries to cover him. Randy Orton breaks it up. He tosses Reigns out of the ring, and then it's just down to Ambrose and Orton, and they fight it out. Orton hits a corner clothesline. No, Ambrose hits a corner clothesline and a bulldog, and Seth Rollins actually had thrown Reigns out of the ring. Ambrose came in and hit a elbow drop on him, and then that's kind of how that happened. Then Randy Orton gets thrown out of the ring. Then it's down to Roman Reigns, and it's down to the former members of the Shield, and Ambrose and Reigns beat the crap out of Seth Rollins, which I thought made sense considering the fact that it was not long ago where Rollins had turned on him, so they just double-teamed Rollins, and Roman Reigns goes to hit the Superman punch on Rollins, and Corporate Kane pulls Reigns out of the ring, throws him into the barricade, which I thought made sense because of the fact that well, I mean, I didn't, but they were trying to tell that story about who Kane was going to help. Because remember, if Seth Rollins lost this match, Kane would be fired as the director of operations. I really didn't think it made sense, kind of in a sense though, because Kane had literally just talked about how he didn't need this job, and he always hated Seth Rollins, and I thought this would have been a good launching point to set off a Seth Rollins-Kane feud for the title, which we eventually did get that, but not right away, and that's what I thought was happening. But then Ambrose attacks Kane, and he gets thrown into the barricade as well, and J&J Security throw Orton into the back first into the barricade, and then Seth Rollins pretty much picks apart Dean Ambrose and just dominates him. He hits a high knee on him. He hits a turnbuckle powerbomb into a kick to the head, and he just really lays it in on Ambrose for a while. Ambrose tries to make a comeback, but Kane sneaks in there and hits a choke slam on Ambrose, which really didn't make any sense. It's a fatal 4-way match and there's no disqualifications. I didn't really get either why the other members of the Authority didn't just interfere the whole match. They just kind of stood there and they picked and choose when they were going to interfere, but that's whatever. They still interfered enough, but I thought they could have interfered more because there was a lot of them just standing around. But eventually Dean Ambrose starts to make a comeback, and he hits all his moves, and then Seth he goes for a cover. Randy Orton breaks it up, and Randy Orton starts hitting all his moves. He beats the crap out of Rollins for a long ass time. He hits a backdrop onto the barricade, and then he goes for one on the announcer's table, but Rollins is able to fight back, and Ambrose then attacks Orton. Reigns attacks Orton, and he's down. And Rollins, Reigns, and Ambrose are all standing over Orton, and they single for the Shield spot. And they have a little bit of a mini reunion. The Shield all attack Orton, and they triple powerbomb him through the table, which I thought was still a cool moment. This was the first time that we had a Shield reunion since the Shield had broken up, so I thought that was awesome. And Seth Rollins is all hyped about this. He puts his fist in like the Shield used to do, and he thinks the Shield are getting back together. But then Ambrose and Reigns look at him, and the smiles leave their faces, and Rollins realizes they're going to beat the crap out of him. So they do just that. They double team Seth Rollins, and they go to hit a double powerbomb through the table, but then Corporate Kane attacks him from behind. But then they end up, the numbers game catch up to Kane. They double powerbomb Kane onto the table, onto Rollins, but the table doesn't break, so they just end up doing it again, and this time the table breaks, and Ambrose and Reigns see that everybody's laid out. So then Reigns says, loser buys the beers, and they realize they have to fight each other amongst themselves. So Ambrose and Reigns fight for a while. Reigns hits a roll-up into a powerbomb, a Superman punch and a spear, but Ambrose is able to kick out of all of those things, and Rollins breaks it up actually when he hits the spear, and then Roman Reigns goes for this. Rollins attacks Ambrose and Reigns. Ambrose hits a Superman punch hits a rebound clothesline on him, and he hits a Dirty Deeds on Reigns, and he goes to pin him, but Kane pulls him out of the ring, throws him into the steps, hits Ambrose off the head with the steps, and then he does the same, and Reigns goes for a Superman punch, and Kane hits him with the steps as well, and then Kane hits a choke slam on the stairs, and then Randy Orton takes out Kane. And Rollins goes to hit a draping DDT on Orton. Orton's able to fight back, and he goes for the RKO. J&J security keep interfering. Orton hits them with RKOs. Rollins goes to go off the top. Orton hits a scoop slam, a draping DDT. He goes for the RKO on Rollins, but Kane gets in the ring. Orton RKOs Kane, and then Seth Rollins hits the pedigree on Randy Orton, which is Triple H's old finish. Well, it still is his finisher, and they had to come up with a new finisher with Rollins at the time because they banned his curb stomp, which because a bunch of wrestlers were suing because of concussions at the time, so they had to take away Seth Rollins' curb stomp, and so they gave Seth Rollins the pedigree, which I thought made sense. So Triple H was like his mentor and stuff, so I thought that made sense. And Seth Rollins ended up retaining the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and afterwards Triple H comes up and celebrates and holds up Seth Rollins' hand. And yeah, I really thought the match was really good, and then the aftermath came. I thought the aftermath was very well. This led to a program between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose for the title, where they had the match at Elimination Chamber, where they did the Dusty finish, and then they had the ladder match where Seth Rollins was able to come out victorious, and Roman Reigns kind of continued a little bit of a feud with the Authority. He went on to be in the Money in the Bank match, where Kane and Orton were also in it as well, but neither of them were able to get to win the match. Reigns went on to feud with Wyatt, like I had mentioned. Randy Orton just kind of really faded away. He got injured, and he was out until like the summer of 2016. Seth Rollins went on to have a very lengthy reign with the title. Eventually, we did get the Seth Rollins-Kane feud. Kane ended up getting taken out by Seth Rollins, and he ended up returning at Night of Champions and destroyed Seth Rollins. And then at Hell in a Cell, him and Seth faced off for the title, where Seth won, and Kane was no longer the director of operations anymore, which, I was fine with. And then we were supposed to have Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the title at Survivor Series of that year. But Seth Rollins ended up getting injured, so he ended up having to vacate the title. So then they had a tournament for the title. Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose were the final two in the tournament, where Roman Reigns ended up going on to win the tournament. And then this was all lead up to get to Triple H versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Because Triple H at the Royal Rumble would go on to win the title. Roman Reigns would win the title. He finally won this first WWE World Heavyweight Championship in December of 2015. And then he went on to... he won it at Survivor Series. Then he won it at December. And then he went on to win the title at WrestleMania. Dean Ambrose... and Roman Reigns are still friends, and now we've had that at Battleground 2016. We got the Shield Triple Threat match we always wanted, where Ambrose ended up pulling out the victory and retaining the WWE Championship, and now all three members of the Shield are once again on the same show on Raw because Ambrose was on SmackDown and Reigns and Rollins were on Raw due to the brand split. So, yeah. So, I'd say a lot of people benefited. Everybody in this match has now been WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Randy Orton already was a WWE Champion. Roman Reigns became a 3-time WWE Champion, and he is now a former United States Champion. Dean Ambrose is a former 2-time Intercontinental Champion, and a former WWE Champion. Now there's been a point where all three members of the Shield at Money in the Bank 2016 hold the WWE Championship, because Rollins ended up defeating the champion Roman Reigns, and then Ambrose cashed in his Money in the Bank on him. So a lot of people in this match, I would say, benefited. Randy Orton, this match didn't hurt him. This match, I wouldn't say maybe he's the only one that really didn't benefit, but if he had been there probably more often than he was. But this match wouldn't have really hurt and benefited Orton, but it benefited all the three young guys, and I actually think the right guy turned took the pinfall, because what I was afraid of was they were putting Ambrose in this matchup to begin with so that way he could take the pinfall, but Randy Orton, who's a veteran, who's been in the business for a while, took the pinfall, so I was happy with this. So this match, I think, has a lot of good outcomes coming out of it. Okay, so next we had Payback Fallout, and we had the same people on the panel, excluding Byron Saxton because he was backstage doing interviews, and the same people on commentary for it. And pretty much what they did was just kind of run down what happened. Mainly they just ran down the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match and the United States Championship match. So that was really about it. The only thing I can really mention that really happened was John Cena got interviewed, and he talked about Byron Saxton asked him what his takeaway was from retaining the United States title in the I Quit match against Rusev, and John Cena says that there was going to be a day where someone takes the U.S. title from me because they were the better man, but it's not going to be because I say I quit, because standing over my shoulders a symbol of excellence, and the three words that pulled me through tonight. And he says that tonight was a war, but tomorrow night on Raw, I am going to the ring, and I am going to defend my U.S. title in a U.S. Open Challenge. And then that was the gist of his promo. And this, obviously, the John Cena U.S. Open Challenges were a thing he did every week, and they were great. And then that was really it. The Payback Fallout really wasn't much, but yeah, that's about it. I did like Cena's promo, and that's about it. So yeah. Okay, so now I want to mention if the theme was played out on this show at all, because that's usually what I've been doing with these past Payback reviews, whether or not a superstar actually got payback, because the whole theme is that you get payback. So let's look. Nobody got payback in the pre-show matches. I would say Dolph Ziggler did get payback on Sheamus because he did force him to kiss his ass during the match, and then Sheamus got payback on him for Ziggler defeated him at Extreme Rules. So I thought the theme of payback was actually used very well in the Sheamus Dolph Ziggler match. There was no payback in the WWE Tag Team title match because the New Day won, and the New Day had kept getting the upper hand time in and time out on Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. Bray Wyatt and Ryback was just a throwaway match, so not really much payback. There was no payback in the United States title match because Cena had already beaten Rusev a number of times. It actually would have made more sense if Rusev had actually won that match, but it didn't happen. No payback in the tag team match because Naomi and Tamina were laying out the Bellas week in and week out, and the Bella Twin. If you wanted to live up by the theme, the Bella Twins should have won that match. Just saying. There was no payback in the Ken Barrett Neville match. It was just a match that was there, but it wasn't like it was bad or anything. But the payback would have come if Neville had just beaten Ken Barrett in the match. And there wasn't any payback in the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match because Seth Rollins, the heel champion, walked out. If you wanted to live by the theme, what would have made the most sense is to probably either have Dean Ambrose walk out with the title or Roman Reigns. Now you could say Roman Reigns makes more sense because Seth Rollins took away his WrestleMania moment, but you can also say Dean Ambrose makes sense because Seth Rollins was constantly kicking down Dean Ambrose. Randy Orton really wouldn't have made that much sense because he already got his payback at WrestleMania, so I think if anyone should have walked out and you wanted to live by the theme, it should have been Roman Reigns winning the title or Dean Ambrose winning the title. So that's just me. So out of all these matches, the only match that really lived up to payback was the opening match on the actual show between Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler. And that's pretty damn sad. I don't mind the concept of payback, but it's like, if you want to have payback, you need to start living by your theme of actually, having people get payback. Just saying. Okay, so now it's time to give my overall thoughts on what I thought of Payback from 2015. So overall, I actually do enjoy the show. It's actually not a bad show. It's probably the best Payback. in WWE history. It's my favorite one out of all the paybacks ever, but that's really not saying much because they're not all that great. So it, it's actually the pre-show you could just skip. But if you were gonna watch this show, I would recommend watching the opening match between Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler, because that's a good match. The WWE Tag Team title match is really enjoyable. Bray Wyatt and Ryback isn't really a bad match if you look past the fact that there's not really much story there. The I Quit match isn't too bad if you look, even though Cena wins at the end and everything, and it's predictable, but the match itself isn't bad. Yeah, you can pretty much skip the tag team match. Neville King Barrett's actually a good match, just don't really care for the finish. And actually, another thing is I don't really care for the finish for the WWE Tag Team title match either. So if you look and the Fatal 4 for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match is actually a really good match. It's probably the best match on the show. And the Payback Fallout really isn't anything worth watching. Really isn't anything worth seeing. So, would I recommend this show? Probably not. That doesn't mean it's a bad show. But I just personally wouldn't recommend it completely, just because there is better things out there. But this is actually, I think, if I had to say, it's actually a pretty good show. It's got a good opening match. It's got a good WWE Tag Title match. If you look past all the bullshit. Then you have Wyatt and Ryback. That isn't a bad match. If you ask me, hey, should I watch the show? I'd say, yeah, it's not that bad. So if I had to rate it on a scale from like 1 to 10, I'd probably rate it maybe like a 6.3. It's actually, I would say it's a good show. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to check out all other content on this channel. Make sure to check out to the CM Brothers channel and subscribe there, because I post a lot of videos there. And make sure to subscribe and check out the Owen the Talkinator channel. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.